Hi there. So over the weekend, Chinese New Year this week, so it's really busy week. But over the weekend, I managed to get the codes for part, what was it, part 5 of the Vampire Survivor series done. So that video is in the factory now, and I'm back working on the Metroidvania series. And I'm trying a couple of new songs for this stream. The song is a little loud, but so I found a bunch of AI covers of popular WWE songs, and they're all sung by Jim Ross. If you know who Jim Ross is, if you grew up in the 90s and you watch wrestling, or if you grew up in the 2000s and you watch wrestling, you will know who Jim Ross is. Someone made a bunch of songs using AI, using his voice to sing those songs. I'm not sure if I'll get copyright struck for this, but it's the songs are really hilarious. So I thought while working on code, I would listen to these songs on stream. Hopefully this doesn't get me a copyright strike. If it does, then I'll take it as a lesson learned, right? So if you're a wrestling fan, you should enjoy the songs. Right here, all you gotta do is just search for Jim Ross AI covers, and you'll find the songs that are playing on YouTube. Alright, so let's get to recording. So Thursday is the stream for Blackthorn Prod. Got it. I'll be joining the Brackies one. That's on the 16th, right? My schedule thankfully should be pretty clear by then, so let's make something good. Haven't made a game in a while, so it'll be a fun trip. Right, so back to the Metroidvania series. Let me just quickly get a recap of what I've done all, like the last time I worked on this project was like a couple of months ago, right? It's quite a while ago. You just love AI covers, right? The guy is spamming the best. What song is this? This is him beatboxing. So the hearts are done, and now we're left with the mana, right? Mana is a little harder to pass. But let's see what we can do with it. I've got a... Boy, this guy is really Let's move on to the next song. It's on the rock and roll. Yeah, some of the songs are annoying. There are some really good ones though. This one is really good. And this one is good. So we have the health UI and looking at getting the mana UI up today as well. Mana is all under mana stuff here. And we have a bunch of mana orbs as well. Mana orbs are all here. And right now the mana handler is handling all the mana stuff, which is just let's check out how they do their mana and perhaps get the same effect. Mana pool. So in Hollow Knight there's possibility for us to get extra health as well. Perhaps mana and fills up the tree. Mana container. So mana orbs handler handles the mana orbs here.
Yeah.
I'm sure the mana from the player is so the mana is all here. There's mana orbs handler as well. Mana stuff is all over the place for the player right now. Let me just get a sense of how the mana works. I'm gonna have to grab a couple of mana items first, right, to be able to get an idea of how this works. So this means my player probably will have to get a couple of mana orbs. So maybe like say 8 or 10. So this is the mana stuff.
The nightmare dream, the root of all evil. Weak, very weak, yeah. Somebody go get their ass kicked. Whoa. Somebody go get their weak split. Whoa. Somebody go
so we
get
got
their
little
ass kicked.
problems
Somebody
here.
go get their weak split. Beat them up, beat them up, break his neck, break his neck. Beat them up, break his neck, break his neck. Beat them up, break his neck, break his neck. Beat them up, break his neck. Break his man prison. You don't end up coming through the door. Quick to whoop you on and knock your ass to the floor. Pick up play water with this disco schmuzzle. Always in the room, number one wish well. Never try to stone us, you know you can't approve. Live by your role, he fold in this room. He war back the act though, you better cover back or beat an explode. In the wood by slack though. Somebody go get the ass kicked. No. Somebody go get the weed snake. No. Somebody go get the ass kicked.
There's a little error right here. I'm not sure what's causing that.
Break his neck, break his neck, beat him up, break his neck.
We have a save
Beat him up, break his neck.
function right here.
Beat him up, break his neck, run his neck. See your mom on here, dog. 1 year old, quarter, devils who be look buddy. You stole them 12.
Says here there is no reference except line 926.
Don't they look scared, dog? I join red dog. Somebody go get the ass kicked. Whoa. Somebody go get the wig split. Whoa. Somebody go get the ass
Is it
kicked.
because I disabled
Somebody
the...
go get the wig split. Beat 'em up, break his neck, break his neck. Beat 'em up, break his neck, break his neck. Beat 'em up, break his neck.
Probably because I disabled the mana off, so I didn't disable this perhaps. But they're all enabled, so I disabled them. I think that fixes the issue. Alright, so then the mana...
There was a slobber knocker.
Just give me a moment, I'm trying to figure out how this whole mana business works. Hi Cam, it's nice to see you after a while. I'm running, I don't know if you're a 90s baby, but I'm running a... these are AI covers. If you're a 90s baby, you would know, and you watch wrestling, you would know this. There's a whole bunch of AI covers of popular songs using the wrestlers at the time. The theme songs of the wrestlers at the time, and then it's Jim Ross covering them. It's hella funny. And right now I'm trying to figure out how the mana stuff works. It's a little confusing at the moment.
We don't care if you like us. Everybody wants to fight us. Hey, oye lo claro, we the ones you wanna meet. Another macaliente, it's too hot for you. Latino heat, chapito heat.
I'm trying to optimize the mana hawk stuff on the Metroidvania series. It's the funniest thing, YouTube took down a couple of them, like there were really good ones in the past, like just about a year ago, and I can't find them now.
Are you ready? Two men try to tell us what we already know. Feel the heat whenever we meet. Meet up, get pasa. If you're not cheating,
oh, you can.
You're not trying.
Everything good.
Viva la raza. We the RPG, we steal. We the RPG, we steal. Mama, see now, we got that passion that's lasting laws. We'll head is football in love with that Latin charm. One woman that's in enough, amigo. Siempre por hielo, for bus mujeres porque somos Latino. And we suffered and tough calling and bluff called RPG, we steal. We the RPG, we steal. We don't care if you like us. Everybody wants to fight us. Hey, oye lo claro, but we ain't the ones you wanna meet. Another macaliente, it's too hot for you. Latino heat, chapito heat. We can't be weak, coming from the streets of the ghetto. At the end of the week, we get to keep your dinero.
Oh, very nice. You're going to Bali in March. Well, enjoy yourself there. Fantastic as always. Bali is always nice.
We steal. We RPG, we steal. Yo, this Chavos. Eddie, are you ready? Those who meant try to tell us what we already know. Fear of heat. Whenever we
so me and Donut, I'm not sure if he's still here in the chat. Donut has invited me to join the Brackeys Game Jam. So 2 weeks later, that's probably gonna be what's going on. And you can Google if you have the time, you can Google Brackeys Game Jam and you can check it out. I think it's a great opportunity to quickly put a game together. We lie, we steal. We don't care if you like us. Everybody wants to fight us.
Hey, oh, you look claro, but wait, the ones you wanna meet.
Can't believe I
have
no idea how the ops work now. It's a little ridiculous. Do I disable the image or something? Because the mana ops handler is just enabling everything.
Society always knew he would. That's why ain't cover. We'll be on cops. I guess no you still has been out. Really unrum come on all. Piddly facility of Eden Town on it, sir. Yeah, on it. Now he died. One day you steal word at white word you can't take back. Just white back up, back up, back. Clearly white, but people tiny always knew he would want it. White
So the reason the mana orbs are showing, I think it's because I set the mana over here, right? To 8, if I set this to 0, sync this not when I increase the orbs, then the orbs appear. So it's all mana orbs.
ready to fly.
So the op count updates every time, and what I want to do is to get the mana management to be a little more organized for the player, and I think that's only possible to do. We've already done it for the health by offsetting the functions managing the health onto a different component. It's called, if I'm not wrong, it's called the health, the UI health. So I just want to have a UI mana that handles all the mana stuff instead of having, you know, everything manually coded. I don't think it's very nice to do that. So what I want to do is to have a separate instance for the mana as well. So I'm gonna start off by writing a new script. It's gonna be called UI mana. And if you don't mind me, I'm just gonna, you know, this AI music isn't working out as good as I thought it would be. Just gonna head over to Spotify and just play some lo-fi music. Okay, these are, I think, much these are much better. It's much more soothing, right? It's much less noisy. Alright, so we're gonna revamp the mana stuff over here today. And by the end of this, we will have much cleaner UI, and we will have the player handling, the player controller script handling the UI, the mana refill and everything by itself. So you don't have the script, you know, like being all over the place and being a little difficult to handle. Because here, if we cash in the mana, you know, we have let me just try this out again. Because we cash in the mana, it's from the mana orbs, which I have to get a sense of how this works. So let me just increase the mana orbs here to 3. And let me just clean up all the stuff that we have over here a little bit. So I'm just gonna get some mana. What's going on? So the guy is just... why is he running all the way there? So if I just get a little heal, just get myself damaged a bit, then I can start healing myself. So if I heal myself, right, the mana should refill itself after a while. But it's instant, which I don't want. I want it to replenish over time, which, well, will be something that we'll have to look into the code for. So let's look at the mana again, the mana portion of the player controller, and let's see how the variables are. Mana drain, speed, mana gain, it's mana orbs handler, the number of mana orbs that we have, orb shards, and then we have, I'm sure we have mask shards as well, right? We have 2 kinds of shards. So we have the health settings, we have the mana settings. The health settings, we have heart shards. And then the heart shards, of course, when you freeze it beyond a certain point, you get an extra health. So max health, we have heart shards, we have blood spurt, everything else. It's all fine. Now we have mana drain, speed, mana gain. Mana storage is right here as well. So what's probably gonna happen is that the UI is gonna be handling the health, and then we're gonna let the UI handle the mana as well. And then the player will just be wholly responsible for the mana updating. So there won't be a UI thing that's popping up halfway. So we have mana like this. It's 1. And what I'm gonna do, right, as well is, instead of having the mana be like 1 and then it drains in increments of 3, right? What's instead gonna happen is, let me just look for how the mana is updated. So mana equals to mana, step 4, mana uppercase. Restore mana. So the switching of the states as well is managed by the UI manager. So we have all the mana stuff, but it's all over It's all over the place. We really don't need this mana state right here. Can just put this inside the player control. I think it'll do very well. Where is the mana variable that we have? So this is a getter. Let me just see where this is. It's getter right here. Updates the UI as well, which is great. So we made the health update itself, and then we are gonna make the mana update itself as well, and perhaps we'll make a few changes to the health, the way the health updates as well. Do we really need to mana equals to? We just click the start function here. So mana is supposed to, is that really necessary? Setting the UI. Fine. We don't need to do the fill amount right here because it's already done. Mana updates itself, so no need for this. Set the health, mana orbs update themselves. And then we set the switching of the states, we update the health, and of course all the health stuff. Then we have, let's look for the other instances where the mana is drained. Sure, there are a lot of instances like that. Apply the mana penalty if the flag is set to true. Have mana. So I think one thing, because we want to again make this as flexible as possible, right? I would just have to redefine the variables a little bit and change how mana works. So we have mana drain speed like this, and this is when you hold the mana, how fast it drains, right? And then we also have, should we put a mana drain speed here? It's for healing, right? And we also want it to be in a per second rate, which it has. Then we have mana gain here. Mana gain will be when you attack, right? Mana gain, when you hit enemies, you get some mana. And then we have half mana. So instead of having these, why not have a mana field and also a max mana field as well? So this allows us to cap the mana to a certain value. So we'll have a max mana, and perhaps we also have a max mana overflow. The mana orbs actually serve as the mana overflow already, right? So actually that's fine, and we can have just mana and max mana for now. Mana drain speed is fine, mana gain. Perhaps I'm also gonna make the mana drain speed a little more descriptive. Which means we will have to let's call this the heal mana. Cause the heal mana cost. Mana heal cost per second. And this would be mana attack thing. Again, this would be heal mana cost. I think by writing it this way, it makes the whole thing a little more readable. Instead of mana drain speed and mana gain, we are going to have slightly different set of variables to work with. And over here it still says mana drain speed, mana gain. It's because the code is not updated. The next thing I want to do as well is for the getter and setter for the mana variables, right? We will go right here, and we have a bunch of. I'm also just gonna clean up the code a little bit so that everything is a bit more compact, So when we are setting the value, instead of clamping to hard values, I'm just gonna put max mana over here. And if half mana, this will be max mana 5. So this will allow us to set the max mana to the value that we want to have. And the fill amount as well is going to be changed. It's going to have to be updated to the mana divided by max mana like this. Which makes a little bit more sense for right now. And I'm gonna have to introduce a couple more revamps to the mana later. So we have half mana as well, and it's probably a way for us to track where the shade is and whether the shade is existing at the moment. And I guess we can just show there's a shade somewhere. Do we have to? Because when we die, then there is the half mana. Let's look at how the half mana is set. Our project. Half mana is false. Half mana is false is set. So that's set when restore mana is called. Again, just restore. That's called whenever the shade dies, I think. So whenever there is a shade, so when there is a shade, then we set the half mana, right? Restore. So So restore mana basically just sets half mana to true. Which is totally fine. So what I'm gonna do instead is to make it so that the mana penalty, right, is going to be it's just gonna be automatically managed. So when do we set the half mana to true? I think that is when we die or something. Somewhere along the way. Mana penalty. Blind mana penalty. Penalty if the mana penalty is set to true. Apply the mana penalty if you respawn. And over here we can max mana over here. Instead of having the half mana be a boolean, let's change this over. So basically it's hard coded so that whenever we kill the shade, it'll restore our mana back to 1. And then we have a half mana checkbox that basically determines what our mana is going to be. I'm just gonna set the max mana over here, just a couple of default values, 3. Mana will be 3 as well. Free mana cost per second is 1. That gain is gonna be 0.34. So just planting some values in there. And this will drop us some default values for the player that we can play around with, because anyway the filling is all set up properly. Now we just gotta deal with mana ops. So the heal cost max mana 3, mana this 1, 3, 4. Half mana, something that I'm not sure if we wanna. So we have 3 mana ops, and it fills up when we get hit. We want the. So if I heal up now like this, the mana will fill itself up after a while, right? So now it's going to fill itself up. And because there's a disjoint, but you know what? It's actually okay because. Anyway, the healing is handled by the mana ops controller, right? Cash in mana. Update mana. So there is a little countdown here that controls how long the cash in, how long we have to wait before the cash in happens. So there is countdown over here, it's 3 seconds. And it never counts down unless it just never counts down. It needs some mana, right? So the cooldown happens, and then everything fills up like this. And perhaps the countdown doesn't always happen the way that we want to. So the countdown only happens if we don't have the sufficient mana, and this stuff can be moved into the player controller. It has to be because we shouldn't have the UI be influencing the mana management of our play. Everything should be in the player controller script. Otherwise, it doesn't make that much sense for us, you know? So if we cache in, then each orb will add. So all these values are hard-coded, and I don't want everything to be hard-coded. I want it to be so that when you jump in, you can just set the values over here and just work the way that you set the values, instead of having to jump into the code to change the values for everything to work. Hi Lucas. So the part 25 Vampire Survivors, the content is done, and I'm just getting Kyle to work on the codes and the video, and in the meantime I've jumped back to the Metroidvania series and improving upon the mana UI and the way the mana functions in the game. Rethinking this entire system, making it a little more neat, a little more manageable, a little easier to use. Moving the UI to a different script as well. But that's gonna take a little bit of planning to sort out. So we have mana orbs over here. I'm gonna change this to excess mana capacity. Yes. Or perhaps I could call this excess mana. Part 18 is I think you're catching up. You're gonna finish faster than I am able to release content, so you're doing well. If you have any questions, feel free to jump in the forums. Yeah, I'm always there to help. Well, we always there to help, like a whole bunch of us. Thanks for your support. So excess max mana. So we can just store the excess mana right here as well. And then we want a store of mana excess max mana. Excess max mana unit. So this will by default be 0. And 0 as well. So this will be 1. I'm just charting out how the system will work, the new and improved system. So now we're able to set how many excess mana points we have. Excess max mana does not exist. So this becomes excess max mana units. So a lot of the errors come from the player controller itself. Good to see. I'm gonna move the excess mana settings over to the top, right here. It's gonna be right under here. Then we have, of course, the mana heal cost per second and all that stuff. All this stuff can be right below. Just want to group the relevant settings together. And I'm also gonna change the half mana variable into mana penalty. And this will be by default 0. It's gonna be a float. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna get a bunch of errors. And this will basically affect the mana that is being shown. So we're gonna have mana max mana, excess mana, but we also have the mana penalty somewhere else. First thing we have to do is just update all our codes to reflect the correct values. So mana penalty over here, if mana penalty is greater than 0. So just a whole bunch of values that we have to rectify. If it's greater than 0, if no mana penalty is this, mana penalty is greater than 0 and mana is less than 0.5. So we have a lot of these hard-coded values, which I really don't like. We shouldn't be using hard-coded values at all in our code. So this will become mana is less than anyway, because we already have checks, right? We don't have to care about dealing with this, right? If mana penalty, so we can also handle the gaining of mana by moving the excess mana into the excess mana units. This will simplify the management of the mana, which is, let me just jump over to the mana section right here. Mana penalty, this will become a float. So this will either be 0.5, 0.5. So we can just do a little bit of this stuff right here. Plus steady brace. And mana penalty here is back to 0. And everything else is great. So we can over here, right? This would be mana penalty is greater than 0. Then we'll clamp max mana to equals to mana multiplied by mana penalty. 1 minus mana penalty. And then we can also handle the overflow of the mana actually, because if the mana is too much, then we can just deposit the extra mana into the excess mana section, which is gonna look like this. So this real will be this value. You know, we can just do a max mana like this, and then we can just do a get. Let's put this formula right inside here. And we can just do a max. So before we start clamping the values, we can record excess mana. Oh, sorry about that. I forgot to share I shared the wrong screen. Thanks for flagging this. I'm just dealing with the mana. I'm trying to build a system that regulates the mana by itself, so then we don't have to write extra code all over the place in our code base to deal with the mana. So then whenever we restore mana, we can just set the value, and then after that the function over here will just manage the reallocation of the mana into excess mana. It's gonna make our lives a lot easier. So perhaps it's best to also create a excess mana variable here. Allow us to do a get. First get, we just return excess mana. Yeah. Just return. So if excess mana is greater than So here we can simplify the values here a lot actually, because now this can all be simplified into 2 lines. That is like this. Max mana does not exist in the current context. So we're gonna simplify the interface a lot more moving forward. And this makes the mana side of things a lot more manageable. So we want the mana, if we set the mana to be above the max mana, then we want to assign this mana to excess mana. Which means, before we clamp, if we can just set excess mana equals to excess will be equals to mana minus, and in this case right here, this should be value, right? Value minus max mana. If excess is greater than 0, and set mana to be equals to X mana. Then excess mana, we'll add the excess right here. We get this excess, that's swap. Else, we will just set mana to be equals to the value it is. Then we update the UI right now, but later on we will no longer do this. This will make things a little bit messy, but in the long run this will be better. We have to fix a couple of issues with the boolean and float as well. This will become player data. Player controller save data. Fine up here, there's a save data output somewhere. Save. So this becomes, this goes from being mana panel. Before this was gone. So save data. So here we have mana here, it's just going to be changed to a float. We will standardize the variables once we are done with this. A lot of the weapons, well, the vampire survivors people didn't come after us, so it's okay. But if you're making a game, you would have to change like the weapons, and you can't use the same. You can give it new icons and probably a slightly different set of effects, but then you will have to change the way the weapon function and stuff. So tutorials, I think for my tutorials they fall under fair use, but you're making a game, probably it doesn't fall under fair use, so you have to apply a twist. Just like you've done for your weapon. You have unique weapons for your game. So I think that's fine. So say instead of using a knife, you can use something else, like say a shuriken or scissors or whatever, depending on the theme of the game. Okay, almost there. Just have a few more variables to change. Spawn. Okay. Change that here. And play controller instance management. We have to change some other value for on player. 0. Just leave it. No, 0. 0 is the right value. This should be 0 as well. So no penalty applied. This fixes all the errors, and the mana should manage itself right now. If I attack and I have excess mana and I have enough of the excess mana orbs, right? It's just gonna show up. So the UI is not gonna sync right now, but it's fine because I just want to check and make sure that the excess mana unit, let's say 3 excess mana units. If I attack and I get more mana, it should fill up the excess mana. Not sure if the mana orbs here are interfering with that. I'm gonna just disable this section here. That should get everything working more properly, but it's tied to the mana orbs thing now. So I've gotta remove the mana orbs as well. Yep, this is Metroidvania. I'm working on the next part. I'm improving upon the mana UI system and the way that the way that the additional mana is handled, and adding some animations as well. The whole thing is going to be smoother, more robust, and more customizable after I'm done with it. I'm having a good feeling about how the mana system is going to turn out, so I think I can finish everything by today. Should be fantastic. Mana orbs, and let me just remove this little part. So now I can just, whenever I hit an enemy, it's just going to ignore this entire part, because I'm gonna phase out the mana orbs and the draining of the mana. It's just gonna go for now. And the op fields go as well. Op shards fine. These go. So I'm just phasing out the mana ops handler section of my code almost entirely, because I don't want this to handle my doing that for me. So grab this and move this guy as well. I think that should be all. Mana ops handler does not exist in current content. Where is the issue? It's all the way at the bottom. It's like this guy here. So let me just comment this guy out as well. Need for us to deal with those. now if we have excess mana, it's just gonna automatically fill up the excess mana right here. And then when I heal, right, the excess mana should fill up the my own mana. So right now the system here is working exactly what I want. And let's hope it doesn't increase beyond whatever right now it does. Not increased, it's not being kept properly. As long as, okay, that's a difficult question. Let me just consult ChatGPT about this. What is considered values? So if something is educational, which is my video, then it's more likely to be considered fair use. So I'm protected by this because mine is educational, right? So for yours, if I create a game that is similar to Vampire Survivors, I have similar weapons, and I will design for it. So these are the things that are okay to use. You can have the horde aspect of things. You can have randomized upgrades. Meta progression will be, for example, getting gold, gaining experience, being able to build your character. This is meta progression. Permadeath, bullet health, dodging mechanics, these are all fine. So perhaps you want to change the way that the experience scales, the weapon evolution system. So you can vary the weapons. Perhaps I can share the chat with you and then you can read through. I think ChatGPT gives a pretty comprehensive answer on this. I'll just drop this on the stream chat. Alright, so check that out. So if basically a quick rundown of this, I think the main danger in on your end with the Vampire Survivors game, right, are the weapons. So if there are any weapons, for example, the knife should be fine, or like a shuriken, but if they are uniquely branded weapons, like for the King Bible, instead of using a Bible, you've got to use something else. If your weapons are different, I think by and large you should do fine, and you want to change as many of the weapons as possible. Even if the mechanics are the same, if you change the branding of it, that helps as well. But if you can vary, say, the leveling up, or like how it functions, you want to change it maybe exactly. You shouldn't have it function the exact same way with the same values. I think that can help you to avoid copyright issues. So copyright, I think, as well, is not as big of an issue as, I think the bigger issue with anyone making games today, right, is how do you get people to notice your game? I think that's the bigger challenge, because if you're getting copyright, it means that your game has been successful, and in this day and age, with the amount of games that are out there, it is a harder thing to get attention than it is to avoid copyright. So I say at this early stage, don't worry about the copyright first. Worry about how to get exposure for your game. So things like, say, joining game jams or being active in other communities and sharing your games there, I think that would be more important than just avoiding copyright. If that makes sense, because attention is the most valuable thing that you have today. And if someone is coming after you for copyright, it means that you've managed to get attention, which is great first step. Okay, so I'm excited about this mana business because it's working pretty well now. So now I just have to cap the excess mana value. So it's clamping between excess max mana and 0. So excess mana has to clamp properly. Excess max mana units. This is 3. Then the excess mana shouldn't go above. Excess max mana units. 3 mana excess. So max mana shouldn't go above 3. What? Yeah. What's going on? We'll figure it out. Let's test this out again. If I have 3 excess mana units, then get some mana from hitting stuff. And this is going to be limited by the amount of max mana I have. This excess max. This getter isn't exactly working. Oh, that's because I'm using the wrong term. This should be set here. Okay, that's great. So now there should be, the cap should be working properly. That's what we want. Right, so now it caps at 3, which is great. And the next thing I want to do is to make the mana, right, drain itself into the mana pool over time. If so maybe we should break this down in multiple sections, right? We have mana settings and then we also have the excess mana settings. If we break them up, I think it'll be a lot neater. So excess mana, this would be excess mana setting here. And I'm gonna move the costs of attacking and all that stuff under the spell settings right here. Makes a bit more sense. So there's heal mana cost per second, and then we have attack mana gain. It's just a slight reorganization of the stats. So mana settings, excess mana settings, spell settings. And then there is excess mana drain delay. So here, this is where we can set how long it takes before the drain happens. Excess mana drain. Excess mana restore delay. Excess mana restore rate. So it restores at a certain rate as well, and I'm just gonna set it 0.1 for now because I'm not sure what is the correct. Alright, maybe this should be 1. We'll just try 1 and see how well that works. This means that it restores 1 mana per second. This will be all the way at the bottom. So that means that whenever we have mana expenditure, if the mana is less than 0, we'll just start draining the mana. So we'll have to have a restore ticker. Restore excess and restore. So it's 0 by default, but if it's greater than 0, what's gonna happen is it's just gonna count down, and when it's 0, it's going to start the restore process. So under update here, I'm just gonna add a restore mana with excess. Handle restore mana with excess. If the mana over here is less than the maximum, do is excess mana restore cooldown. Is greater than 0. We will subtract this with time dot delta time. And then if it's greater than 0, right, what's gonna happen is if it's less than 0, it's just always gonna be trying to restore the mana. So if mana is power amount. So I think this will give us a more gradual restoration process. And whenever mana is spent, we should also take note of it and just set the cooldown whenever the mana is spent. So let's look for the mana section of the code. If mana is getting drained, so we have a couple of things going on. I'm going to add some comments later on, but I think the mana system is working a lot better now because it's there is a delay that's instituted. So whenever I lose, let me just lose some mana. So if I have some excess mana, the mana should automatically fill itself up after a certain amount of time. Let's see here. So where's the player? The player is right here. And I have some excess mana over here from hitting enemies. So I have some mana units and stuff. So let me just get a few more points. So if I spend my mana to heal, this reduces my mana like this. And after some time, the excess mana should drain back into the mana right here, which currently is not happening. So I've got to see what's going on here. So what I have is excess mana restore, delay. Restore cooldown, sorry. Cooldown is not reducing itself. And that's because I simply forgot to call the function inside update. So if we are live, I'm just going to handle song mana with access. So if the player itself handles the restoration of the excess mana, then that makes the UI business a lot easier, because now I can just pass the values into the UI and then it will do the right thing. Getting extra op shot. Op shot is not being recorded. Fine, we'll figure it out later. So now I have some excess mana. If I heal, then the excess mana should drain into the mana after some time. I was hoping it wouldn't drain instantaneously, which is what just happened. Handle restore mana with excess. So this should be restore amount and multiply it by this is much better. Let's try this again. I wonder why the op shot isn't increasing, because it should be increasing, but we'll work that out later on. The pickup. We'll just get some data. I'm just gonna heal up to get the excess mana working. So now we'll see the excess mana drain into the mana like this, and then it just adds to my mana over time. But as you can see, the rate, having a rate of 1 is, drain rate of 1 is too. Wow, why do I have so much? Let's look at this again. The drain rate should be fine, right? Drain rate. Restore, cooldown, and excess mana is created into it. Excess. So let's hope that drains properly this time. Should be draining properly now. Get some excess mana. So I have some excess mana right here. Let me just get damage. Good. Ready to test. So I'm healing up, and let's wait for the excess mana to drain. After some time, it should stop and it gets to 0. But the draining is so slow, huh? Excess. probably a mistake in the math right here. Figure out what it is. Should be good. Somewhere it should get to 0. Then right now it's not getting to 0 because there's some math issue. But if we sort out the math issue, then the training should work fine. Get myself hit. Heal up. And let's see the excess mana drain. It is still draining at a very weird rate. So it should always drain at the excess mana restore rate here. Like this. But if we don't have enough excess mana to restore, then we shouldn't be draining that much. So that means that if the restore rate is greater than the excess mana, if this is less than the excess mana, it should be less mana. But if we use a minimum, that works. Take the smaller of the two. Let's try minimum. Maybe minimum is the correct one. It's not maximum. And okay, let's check this out. Heal, mana, and then let's wait for it to restore. Excess mana restore rate times 100 at a time. That leaves the restore amount greater than bigger than the excess mana. Okay, let's try this again. Let's do a heal. And we'll look at the mana settings. Let's get it draining. Okay, now it works. I think it's fantastic now. So if I start hitting stuff enough, this is going to put the excess mana into the excess mana section. And let me just get some damage in character so that I can heal and see how this excess mana drains. Should drain as normal, like this. There's some problem with the mana because it can overspend and go to 0, which can go to less than 0, which is not what I want. Not ideal. Let's see how we can prevent that as well. So it goes below 0 like this. Shouldn't happen. So if it goes below 0, we will just have to make sure to limit the minimum value to 0, I guess. Where is the code for setting the mana? Hey, you're welcome, Wally. Glad to see that the work helped. So if we have forums as well, so if you have problems with your code, feel free to jump into the forums and ask your question. And me, along with some of the other people who manage the forums, will respond to you as soon as possible. So here we just have to institute a little cap. Just a little max. So that the mana never falls below 0. I think that's very important. So here we have the player controller managing its own mana, and I think that's great. Clean up the mana section of our code a lot more. And now we just have to go into the pickup and find out why when we increase the orb shard, it never increases our orb count. Because it should, right? Cut shards. Sex field. So we have a little upgrade here, and this should be affecting mana. Maybe that's why, because the setting wasn't done properly. Open the prefab and make sure that this is set to the mana so that it's the wrong one, which should help. So our orb object should be set to mana so that it increases the correct thing. If it's gotta do a switch case here as well. Switch. Case type. Oh. So by default, it's just gonna increase the amount of health that we have. but we also have a case where if we are increasing the mana, then grab this and this will be shot. So this increases the orb shards that we have, and this will be for a different part though. Now it should increase the fill properly. So now when we pick up items, this is a new ability. Allows us to jump, but the notification works now very well. Here the save though, if I want to see this thing, if I want to get this thing to work, because the save system is removing the item after it's picked up. So eventually Walid has a question, eventually we all have to replace the assets with our actual art. What's your advice on managing asset creation as solo indie developers? It depends on what your strength is. Are you more of an artist or are you more of a programmer? Do you want to create games that are more mechanically driven, meaning the unique selling point lies in just having addictive things to do in the game, like the gameplay loop. Let's say if hacking enemies is fun in your game, then maybe art is not that big of a factor. If it's not a big of a factor, you can always just find assets online. Open game art. You have Kenny as well. Kenny has a great library of assets. You can use those assets. Other options will include, well, these are the two places I get my assets actually. So I'm sure you can find more outside. There's always new websites that are coming up that are putting out free assets. So that's one way that you can do it if you are more mechanically driven. If art is not your strength, then you can do that. You can also AI generate, though it's a little difficult to do that nowadays. With 3D games, actually, it's easier to get assets because you have a lot of animations nowadays that are freely available, and you can map these animations onto 3D models and stuff. If you are doing things on the art side, I would say feel free to create your own assets, but it'd be best if when you're creating your own assets to download an existing sprite sheet, and then you replicate the poses that you see on the sprite sheet, because that is the best way to ensure that you don't miss out any animations. And when you're replicating other sprite sheets, you will be able to see, because when you animate yourself, right, you may have certain blind spots if you haven't had experience, and by referring to someone else's work, it helps you to catch up to speed faster, because you get to refer to the work and see how they handle the problems that come with animating certain kinds of actions. I hope it makes sense, and I hope that's your question. If I just download everything, I think that's the fastest way to do things. You want to find assets that are copyright free. CC0, CC3 is fine. So anything that allows you to use them. Some of them require attribution. So what I'm talking about is if you are downloading assets from OpenGameArt. For example, right, you want to make sure that the asset itself is the correct license, and whenever you download the asset, you can click on the license over here, and this will tell you what you have to do to be able to use the asset. So some assets, they are copyright free, but they are attribute. I wouldn't say they are free to use, but they have certain licenses that require you to do attribution. So for example, you have to include, say, inside your game credits to these assets if the license is of a certain kind. So you want to have a look at the license real closely. Other than that, I don't really have a lot of other comments on them. Oh yeah, one more thing, right? If you're creating your own assets, it's still great when you're coding to just use placeholder assets first, because you wanna avoid as far as possible using squares or using just plain placeholders. Always try and find a placeholder using an existing art asset, because having art for and animations for your character gives you a feel of how your game is going to be like. When you put boxes inside there, it's not gonna give you a real feel. So let's say you have a fighting game, right? And if your character are boxes, it's gonna be very hard for you to visualize and for you to get a feel of how the game is going to be like. So placeholders are great even if you're doing your own art. So if you are an art person making a game, open game art, Kenny, these places are still places that can give you great value because of that. So testing, when you have placeholders, testing is going to give you a much more accurate picture and much more accurate feel of how your game is actually going to be like when you put in your own assets. So my points are a little disjointed, but I hope you found them helpful. Let me just go and clear the save data. Gotta find a way to like do the clearing of the save data in a more efficient manner as well, because I can't be going into the project files and clearing everything so often. Jump in here. Let me just mute audio. I'm gonna clear the file so that I can see the pickups. Grab the pickup here. I wanna see the op chart updating like this for the player. So the op chart should become 1. There we go. So this is working. You're welcome. Thanks for joining the stream and thanks for your support. So now, I guess another thing that we have to put into consideration is whenever the op charts increase, we will also need to handle the conversion of the op chart into an actual mana point, right? Right now, I'm not sure if that is occurring. So what I'm saying here is, if I pick up all of these shards, it's just gonna become a new mana point after a while. But I'm not sure if this actually converts to an extra mana unit, you know? So if I get all of this, okay, let me try this again actually. Let's go to the player. I will set the op chart to be 0, excess mana units, excess mana units be 0, right? So this means that if I start attacking stuff, my mana will fill up, but it's not gonna fill up the excess mana. And that's because I have no excess mana units. So if I start grabbing my op charts, this should increase over time to 3 and then to 4, right? So when op charts hit 4, this should cause the excess mana units to increase as well, which I'm not sure it does. So it doesn't increase the excess mana units right now, and this should be handling that as well. Because otherwise, you know, this would just keep increasing 5 and so on, which doesn't make sense. Oh. So I'm not sure which part of my code handles that now. Op count. think that was handled by the previous. That was handled by the previous thing, right? Previous script. Why still have part 12 here? Yes. And mana orb. Yes. This increases the orb shard, but it doesn't convert the orb shard to the number of orbs. I'm just checking how the previous part was doing the orb shard stuff. Orb shard. Orb shards, yes. Oh, there's a check here, right? So that means that in my own pickup script, I will have to do that check as well. So probably the orb shard over here, maybe it's might be more beneficial for it to be private as well. So we can serialize everything because all of these private, right? Private. I'm gonna change these. I'm gonna call these mana shard. Okay. And this will be private as well. They really don't need to be serialized because we're not setting the values here. But the mana shards should be managed by themselves as well, which means under the mana section, whenever we add to the mana shards, should also be updating the mana based on the amount of shards that we have. Or we can just leave it public. Actually, let's just leave it public. And let's have a function that should be better. Orb shards, fine. And mana shards. So we have these mana shards, and we'll create a function. Store mana, hello, store mana access. 6. Let's create a function that lets shards So I'm just gonna put a shards for access unit over here, and this will be 4. So then this will help us to calculate how many pickups we need before we hit the conversion threshold. So, shards here. If mana shards greater than shards per access unit. If this is greater than or equals to this, it's gonna do shards access unit plus equals to mana shards divided by unit like this. So this adds bonus units. That's equals to gas max mana units. X number of units. So only when we call convert mana shards do we get the conversion, which means over here we wanna just run this. It's not accessible due to its protection. Destroy this pickup if max out. We need to do that. Power the raid bulls. Thanks for coming back. So if our mana is maxed out already, then there's no point for us to show the pickups anyway. We just make some of these values public so that I can access them. Like excess mana can be, yes, they can be, this can be. Let's make this public. This one as well. just gonna rename this to max health, just so that it describes everything a lot clearer. And here, this will be excess max mana units. And excess max. This will be 3 by default. And then the pickup itself can check if excess max mana units. If it's greater than or equals to the limit, then we'll just terminate the whole thing. 2 Red Bulls and 1 Coke, you're gonna be loaded up on caffeine, man. You're gonna be like super hyper, you know. I just drank a cup of tea and I'm feeling that hype already. Okay, I'm just gonna test out everything now and just make sure that the conversion of the mana works all within the player controller class. Then we can just eliminate the need for the mana ops handler. It's gonna make everything a lot more neat, a lot easier to understand as well. Upgrade pickup. So when I pick up this stuff, it's going to increase the mana shards. After that's done, the set fail stuff, it's done, right? This under pickup. Where is the set fail function? Somewhere here. Override use set fail. So after the mana shards are done, I can just grab the player controller here, instance, and convert mana shard. Okay. So let me just try this out, grabbing a couple of the mana orbs, and I want to see that the mana shards are updating. So I have no excess mana units at the moment, but once I have 4 of these shards, right, should have mana shards not increasing now. So I have here mana stuff. Why are you drinking so much caffeine? Is it because you have work to do? Or you just want to hang around and spot my stream, huh? Mana shards, we have 2 now, so it's working. It's just not converting properly, so this function is the culprit. We've got to find out what is causing this issue then. Convert mana shards. Shards per excess unit should be 4, right? So with the function turned on, it seems that the mana shard's not increasing anymore. Okay, now it's increasing. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now it converts properly. The values here are correct, which means we get to enjoy some excess mana once our mana is full, right here. And if we, of course, heal, then the mana should fill up by itself from the excess. The max mana drains back, fantastic. So much better now, and the job now is for us to work out the, what should I call it? Work out the UI for it. So right here, right, we have the half mana, full mana, all that stuff. It's all gonna be replaced. Oh, you went early. That's fantastic. Oh, I like the taste of caffeine as well. I like tea as well. I like it a lot. And oh, caffeine isn't really the best for my health. Probably isn't the best for everyone, but it's just so enjoyable, right? And the high that it gives you it's actually pretty nice. So I have the mana stuff here, and I'll need to create a new script. And there should probably also be a section for increasing the amount of health, max health that we have. Let me just test out the max health section as well. I think it's to do with the pickups. Like when I changed the pickups, I think it broke the health system, you know. Max health is 10, 20 now. So when I pick up enough heart shards, this should cause hearts to increase. Just test this out a little bit. So if I grab enough hearts, I think my max health doesn't go up as well. This is 4 of them. I need 4 of them. And this should convert to a new heart, but it doesn't. And the reason it doesn't is because, again, the heart shards do not convert into extra health by itself. So I'll have to increase the max health setting. Let me just grab a few of these guys. I can test out stuff as well. If I change the shard access per unit to, I think when I pick up 1 shard, this will give me half. Try this out. Still gives me a quarter, so I have to update my code. So this will be divided. I think it's gonna be more beneficial for me to do using a controller. no, I'm not doing these tutorials for my own living. It's not making enough. My main income, I lecture in a university. I also do websites for clients. So this is why I only stream once a week and the videos come out very slowly. So the tutorial stuff, hopefully it can become a more substantial source of income in the future, but that's going to take me scaling up by a lot. So I'm gonna have to create maybe some infrastructure that allows a community to be built. Because right now the Patreon is just offering project files, right? So there's a limit. I mean, it's not offering as much value as I like it to have. But if we have Discord server and then we have a group of people who are helping each other with the tutorials and stuff, then you know the Patreon can kind of offer access to the community as well, and that will make the whole thing provide more value. So I'm gonna have to think of ways to scale up if I want this to become a more substantial source of income. It's an attention economy nowadays, right? So, and you know, with these services, it's always about how much value you can provide for the amount of money that you charge. And to be frank, I'm not providing enough value in my Patreon stuff. So I have some ideas about how to scale it up, but because I have projects and I'm teaching outside as well, so there's a limit to the amount of time I can spend on this. And just started a couple of videos, and then because the videos started getting traction, so then we just started creating more and more videos. But it's very close to being sustainable, and it just needs like one more push, you know. And if next couple of months, if I can just put together, once the school semester is over, if I can put together the time and the energy to give this a push, I think this can become something. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so there's a plan, and then of course there is plans don't always go the way we play out as well. I'm rambling a bit, but I hope I answered your question. What do you used to do, Lucas? So from your name, I'm guessing you are Eastern European. Probably Czech or Polish. That's my guess. And why are you looking at game development? So my guess was that most of my audience is going to be, you know, like 13 to 18 or 18 to 25, the younger crowd, but I'm actually attracting quite a substantial amount of people who are older as well. Like either they are working and this is a hobby, or you know, like people who are retired like yourself. It's a very interesting thing, you know, because I never thought that I would attract an older crowd. You live in Austria. Austria is a great place. I love the weather there. Damn, so you're 30 and you're in early retirement. Like, do you invest in Bitcoin like 10 years ago? Is that why you're in retirement now? You got Bitcoin at $4,000, you can retire now, right? And then you can just hold Bitcoin, and like in the next couple of years, it's gonna grow like 2x, 3x. And then you can buy a couple of houses, rent it out, and that'll be your life. Using there we go, that's what I want. So I want player controller as player. Using player equals to player. Do that? No, cannot do that. Ah, well, I'm glad that you're on this channel and you can. I I I hope you're loving the tutorials. Coding is a lot of fun. Coding is very satisfying if you manage to get. I mean, it's a lot of frustration as well. To be honest with you. Now you can't find a job. How are you getting by? So one thing that can happen, though I think you might have to branch out to other niches. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Other specializations like gaming. Like if you learn game programming, it's a great way to brush up on your skills. But the money, I don't think there's as much money in games programming as there is in like more generic application programming. Like game programming ironically is very difficult, but then it ironically doesn't make that much money as well because you can make a lot more money like coding apps for other, at least in Singapore, right? So like a games programmer is earning less than say a general, say if you're doing fintech or you're doing just maybe app development for a bigger company like Grab or Uber or whatever. You can make more money doing that than doing games, sadly. So I'll be glad to help you brush up to brush up your coding skills. The forums, or you can just drop a comment on our videos, and yeah, so it's just day by day, keep coding, you get better, and you can just keep trying the interviews. One day it'll work. I'm glad to hear it. So like along the way, there have been so many moments when I've thought about stopping this channel because it's just a lot of work, but then you have people like you coming in to comment and saying how much it helped, and that really gave me motivation, because keeping this up costs money as well, to do the editing and all that. But to see it grow and to see the words of appreciation and to see me doing this very boring stream, right? But then having people come in to say, hey, thank you, it's been helpful. It's very encouraging. And I'm not at the point where I can, talk about financially supporting people who come in to help the channel and stuff. But in the future, if we become more financially stable, hey, we can also perhaps create some jobs. But that's I can't visualize how that will happen in the future. But giving back is something that I really love to do as well. Once this thing kicks off. Access max. This should be 0.25. If I may say something, Lucas, you sound pretty normal to me. So I don't know which I don't know why or who the health professional that you are seeing diagnosed you with mental health issues. I think you're just a normal guy, right? I mean, you chat pretty normal. Just regular guy who's interested in coding and who's very nice, a very nice person. Hi, Union. Pardon me if I say your name wrong, right? Because it's not a very common name that I see. Thank you for dropping in, and I hope you're enjoying our videos. We have forums. We have forums on our website. So if you go over to our channel page, there is a link to our blog where we post all accompanying articles to our tutorials. If you have any issues, on the top right corner of the site, let me just quickly show you the site. Right here. So on the top right corner, there are community forums, so you can jump in there, and if you have any questions regarding any of our tutorials, just post a topic there, and then we'll respond to you. Usually, if it's a weekday, within 24 hours, to help you with your coding issues. Hey, of course, Lucas, no problem. I just said what I said because I think it's just more, it's a more empowering mindset for us to. Okay, I'm gonna say something that maybe is a little arrogant, but whatever I do, right, even if I'm not the best, I will always do whatever I'm doing with the mindset of like, this is something that I'm very good at and I can always ace it, you know. It's so when, yeah, I don't say this a lot, so I'm not sure how to express this, but if I'm like say I'm going to boxing, right? Like my mindset is that I'm the truth is not that I'm the best boxer, but then I'll go in there thinking I'm the best. Otherwise, you know, it's a little difficult to perform at the level that you want to perform. And I think that a lot of society nowadays has this mindset of, so because I lecture, right, and one day my colleagues were just talking about imposter syndrome because they lecture and they don't feel like they know enough, and I always had this mindset that, you know, like, hey, because I'm lecturing, right, because I started very young, I never had this idea that I wasn't good enough, you know, like and I think I'm pretty glad for this mindset that because it's never a good thing to put yourself down, you know, and I just want to spread this mindset around, because like a lot of my friends as well, they just have not very positive views of themselves, and I just think it's very self-defeating. The world is cruel enough that we don't have to beat up ourselves in our own minds, you know. We should be our best, we should be our strongest supporters, and then the people around us, the world around us, they can do whatever they want to us, but at least we have ourselves on our side. Six unit. So this be divided by shards per access unit. Same thing here. So you want to get into game dev, but you suck at coding. You're majoring in computer science engineering. 19 at the moment. Any guidance? Why do you say you suck at coding? What is the roadblock that you have? Because if you're majoring in com science, right? Com science engineering, does it deal more with hardware or software? So, two questions. Why do you think you suck at coding? And number two, are you studying more of the hardware side or the software side? You have ADHD. So this means that you can't sit down long enough with it to focus on solving problems. Like say if you get stuck at a problem, you're not patient enough to spend like days thinking about the problem and solving it. Is that it? Or do you feel like if you get in a problem because you can't solve it within a day, then you're not good enough? Because I think the fact that you major in computer science means that you somewhere along the way you thought that you could do it, right? So as for the sitting down and not being able to solve problems, it's something that it's not a problem that you have. I have that as well. And how do I put this across? Coding is a skill that the learning curve is if I can pull up Paint. So coding is a skill that goes like this. I think if you play games, you would be aware of the term, right? The learning curve. So coding is a skill that goes like this. It's the hardest to learn. Sorry, it's the hardest to learn. So the first 3 years, right? Coding is gonna feel like this, where you've been coding a lot, but you're just learning very little. And then as you code more, like to your 6th year and to your 10th year, right, you will see that the amount of things that you're able to do just exponentially increases because you start connecting the dots together. And a lot of the difficulty in coding comes from the bug fixing. And even now, right, I've been coding for more than 10 years now, and anything that you ask me to do, right, given enough time, I can make it work. But I will still have days or weeks where I get stuck at a problem, and you just have to, you see when I get stuck at a problem, I get distracted as well. So it's a thing that regardless of whether you have ADHD or not, it's something that every programmer faces. But then the question is how much do you want it? Because if you when I was learning coding, right, it wasn't because I wanted to do coding, it was just because I wanted to do well in school. So then to do well in school, it meant that I had to solve whatever problem I had in front of me, regardless of whatever the problem was. So back 15 years ago, right, when I ran into a problem with coding, there wasn't the amount of resources that you have now. Today you have ChatGPT, and if you're using Unity or a lot of the platforms that are out there have very good documentation. So for example, if you wanted to learn how to do a raycast, right, back in my day, you had to read the source code and you had to figure out for yourself what the programmer is doing to be able to customize the codes to do the thing that you want. So things are a lot easier now, and that doesn't mean the process is easier, but the process is still the same. And is that, so what worked for me in the past was that if I had a problem, I would just keep the problem in my mind all the time. So let's say today I'm trying to solve a problem and I get distracted playing games, right? Tomorrow when I wake up, the first thing that's on my mind is going to be, I want to do well in school, and then from there, this is the thing that I have to do, right? So then because of the big overarching goal that I had, right, it just made me go back to the problems that I had. So I may have spent, say, half an hour, 1 hour on the problem, and I failed today. So tomorrow I'll come back to it. So even if you have ADHD and you can spend, say, half an hour on your problems, say debugging or whatever, right? If you keep going back to it, you're never gonna be able to fail. So the most important thing here is if you don't quit, you will be in a pretty good spot, because programming is a pretty tough skill to learn, and when anything is tough, right, you're gonna get a lot of people who give up halfway, and all you gotta do is just not be the person that gives up, you know. And that is really, that gets easier. I wouldn't say it's really easy. It gets easier when you can see what you want in the long term. So do you see yourself being a coder? If not, then what would you spend your time learning, right? Because anything that you want to, so you go to school to learn something valuable, and say today you decide, oh, programming is so hard, and maybe it's not the right path for me, then what would you spend your time doing, you know? So if you decide that you want to be a coder, you have to think about what is the other thing I want to pursue, and if there is nothing else, then why not just commit yourself to this? So maybe today you get distracted with your PS4, PS5, right? Tomorrow just come back to it. If you can see yourself doing this in the long term, then you'll always be coming back to the coding problems or whatever that you get stuck on. Does that make sense? Hope my answer makes sense to you. I'm glad it's helpful. So forums are open. ChatGPT is open as well. We are working on implementing AI into our forums, so we can respond in a much faster fashion to your programming issues. So do make full use of whatever we have. Hopefully I can get the UI up in the next half an hour for the mana stuff. Right, so back to this. C# is difficult, especially for beginners. It might make you understand coding basics better if you learn Java or C#. Oh yeah, C++ is pretty tough. It's just a bit stricter. It's like 25% stricter than everything else, you know, so that's what makes it annoying. Once you get to a certain point with your coding journey, right? Once you've coded, for me it was after the 4th or the 5th year mark, after I tried a couple of languages, right? Then the exponential growth came around here for me. So once you've tried at around the point of, I think, the 4th or the 5th year for me, I've tried a couple of different languages, and then that was what gave me that boost, you know, because once you try a couple of languages, you start to see similarities in all of them, and all of them, they're just different ways of expressing very similar things. So then after you get to the point where you try a couple of different languages, it becomes very easy for you to map from one language to the other. And yeah, after that, then you just experience this very big growth, you know, because once you see a problem, naturally you will know what are the tools available to you, and then you'll be able to break down problems very quickly, and then that's when you start coding at a really fast pace. So you can start, I think games programming is actually one of the harder ways to start programming, but it's also one of the more satisfying ways. So there are two ways to learn programming. If you go to school, you usually learn programming from the bottom-up way, which means bottom-up means you start from the basics, like you learn about say things like variables, functions, and all that stuff, right? So gaming is top-down, meaning that you right away with the tutorials that you find for games, it's usually just build a game, and then from building the game, you will learn about the different structures that you have in coding, and you know, like how functions work and everything. You just, by building the whole thing, you learn. It's a more exciting way to learn coding, but it's also much harder because you'll be writing a lot of code that you perhaps don't understand fully. So I learned coding the top-down way because I started modding games like very young. And when I learned programming the bottom-up way in school, right, it was so boring. I just wasn't interested in class, you know. So I think there are benefits to both ways of learning, and a lot of learning programming is being able to see what makes programming exciting is if you're able to see an end result that you want to see, right? Like for me, because when I coded games and I saw the result, it was very satisfying to me, and that was what drove me to continue coding. Whereas if I went the traditional way of, you know, learning about variables and printing stuff, it was just wasn't interested in that, you know. I didn't see a use case. I didn't see what good printing text onto a screen could do for me. So I was never interested in that, never paid attention to class. Whereas, you know, finding tutorials online on how to mod the games that I like to play, gave me a lot more motivation when I saw that whatever I was coding was working. So you've got to find a style that works for you as well, and you've got to think about the reward that you get. So if you're able to get into a project, right, a coding project that even though it's difficult, right, whenever you achieve something, it makes you feel very satisfied. It gives you that dopamine rush. That's gonna make it a lot easier for you to sustain your habits. I don't know what I just scribbled on the screen, but yeah, that's the breakdown of 2 ways of learning coding. Okay, now let me get the variables all set up. Here is mana shards per access unit. Then we also need a heart shards per access unit. Then we'll be converting the heart shards into actual health. We have heart shards. It should be 4 as well. So we have a function for converting health, and we have a function for converting mana as well. Convert mana shards. Let's add a new function here. This is convert health shards. So this would be max health. Maybe let's also do a access max mana units. Hey, C# is pretty fun. I haven't coded a lot in it, but it is fun, and it's very annoying as well. So all the best for the course. I always tell my students that the benefit to learning coding is that you get paid a lot doing coding. Like you get jobs that pay a lot. Maybe AI will change that in a couple of years, but for now it still pays well. If you're good at coding, it's AI can't replace coders yet. You know, like AI can't do the stuff that I'm doing right now. Moment. So if the remaining units here is 1 and 0. We want units equals to remaining units here. Shots. Says so here we had divided units. Then the mana shards here will be minus units. Mana shards. Yes. What units? Right. Mana shards. Big paycheck is the wrong reason to learn coding for. Well, that's true. That's actually true. I just didn't know how else to motivate the students, you know, because if you can't really psych your way into being passionate about coding. Like if you really don't like coding, that's doing more practice isn't really gonna help. You know, so if you can drive yourself via passion, that is the best. I agree with your teacher. But you know, talking about money is the most direct way to motivate students, right? If someone is like sometimes when I go to class, like half the class is just not interested in programming. They're there because their parents want them to be there, or you know, they just thought, oh, because it pays well, right? So I'm here, or because everyone's doing it, so I'm doing it as well. So in those cases, I think it's much easier to tell them like, hey, it pays more, so at least study for the exam, as opposed to, hey, you should develop a passion for coding. It's really hard to do that unless you can find a feedback loop that works. You know what I mean? So like if you work on a project and then that project is really satisfying to work on, then you have that loop there, right? Then it becomes very easy to learn. But otherwise, money is probably the easier motivator. And that's where my train of thought comes from. And where's the mana stuff? Convert. So we want to have the same logic right here for the health as well. Except now instead of It's not possible to access max. Set max remaining units. This will be 12 unit minus next shots. Okay. Remaining units more than 0. This should be shots divided by shots. So then this should just be max health, and then the heart shots will be reduced by the water units multiplied by heart shots per health. And this should get the increments to work properly. So this should be divided by player.instance heart shots per health, both sides. So the incrementation should work properly now, and after this is done, we will have to convert heart shots. So everything goes back to the player. Anything that pertains to the player should be handled by the player. It shouldn't be spread all over the place like we were doing it previously. That makes it a little bit harder to manage all of our code. Yeah, I don't have to, you know, like, I think uni lecturing is pretty easy, but it's the nicer thing to do. Like, it's important to remind people, especially younger people, right, that life is short and you've got to make full use of whatever time you have here. Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing that you helped him and he managed to make something of himself. I have a couple of friends as well. When they were younger, they just didn't do very well, but then something clicked after a while, and they found a reason to hustle, and then that is what pushed them over the hill and made them able to code. So people being able to do that over time and finding a reason to do that, it's always nice to hear about. Okay, so let's try the boosting out. We've managed to figure out that the mana stuff works. Now it's just not working in practice. Oh gosh. How many? So I have one shard here. It's divided by mana shards per access. Oh hey, no worries, no worries. I didn't take it that way. I mean, I just say that because not everyone does that, but I think it's important for I mean, if you're educating, I think it's important to not just be someone who is conveying knowledge, you know, because knowledge is very easy to come by now, right, with Google and everything. Like whatever I'm teaching in class, anyone else can just Wikipedia and find it actually, or just ChatGPT and find it. It's not difficult to find, but school has to, if it wants to retain its competitive edge, right? But today school is, I'm not very fond of the education industry, if I'll be honest with you, because they live in a bubble, because they get grants, right? Every country has grants for universities. So this makes them, this gives them such a big advantage that they don't have to innovate to stay competitive. And because of that, sometimes you get syllabuses that are old, that are not updated as much as they should be because they get grants, right? So then these grants can only be spent on education. So they will anyway get guaranteed clients because government money is coming into the education industry. So where was I going with this? So if school was existing in a more, if it didn't have grants and it had to compete in the wider arena, right? Then knowledge becomes like, because knowledge is so commonplace, like for schools to remain competitive and to add value to students, you have to give something more than knowledge, and I think projects are one of them, because in school you are pressured to perform, and I think that's a great way to learn. And the other thing is, as someone who is teaching, it's important to inspire as well, because that AI can't do that, but humans can, perhaps in the future AI can eventually, but it's gonna take them a couple of decades more, before they talk like humans, and then you can have like maybe AI politicians, maybe that's somewhere along the way down the line. But now with AI around, it's even more important to include that human element in whatever you do. Connect people as humans and not just, be spamming, be regurgitating information back at them. Thank you, sir. So right now I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with my code here. Because my math seems to be right, but the animation is not coming up. See that? The animation is not appearing, so something is probably wrong somewhere. So I have mana shots per access units. Let's see what this gives me. Bring this up. Value. Oh, I have two values right here. So I get 0 and 0. Why is that the case? Mana shots, please. Is it because I didn't set the value? It says it's mana shots per access unit. Shots. Why is this value 0? This value should be, oh, because they're both integers, right? Yeah, that's why. So I just gotta convert this to a float, and it's probably easier to just do a 1F here like this. Okay, this should fix this. So with the multiplication of 1F, I'm essentially making them decimals again, and the ratios and everything should now be correctly working once again. There we go. So if I change the value right here, it's going to give me something else. So let's say if I change this to 3, right? It is going to give me a value of 3. Yeah, that's great. So now very easily I can set the value over here, and I probably also want to add some attributes in there. And what I mean by that is just to set a minimum for certain values. Like for excess mana, we have mana shards per excess unit, right? If I implemented a minimum, that's going to prevent instances where issues happen. So what I mean is, me to just do a minimum of 1 here, and public integer. This. So I'm gonna do this for the hard shards as well, instead of putting them on the same line. And again, this helps to manage the variable by preventing it from going to 0. So now there is a minimum value of 1. So even if you misset everything, it still works pretty well. So hard shards over here, I'm gonna set it to 4 as well. And then the conversion should happen by itself. So the max health should increase, and this should increase. This should affect the UI as well. Let me just plug a couple of parts into the game and test it out. This increases the max health, but the health UI doesn't change. Why doesn't it change? Max health. There isn't a setter for max health. Is there? Yeah. Yeah. So maybe it's we have to convert hard shards. We will have to do on health changed. Health changed. Call back. These two are obsolete now. So if I just call an on health changed, I'll have to just put in health. Paste. So for the mana, because the setup isn't there yet, so I can't exactly do that. But once this is done, we'll have to update the mana UI once it's up. So let me just change some of the values in there, and we can see if this allows us to get more health. Just making sure to test the features and ensure that they work properly, since we are revamping the UI for the health and mana. So we're gonna reduce the hard shards for health too. This is going to give us extra health a lot faster. And once I get more health, it actually gets me a full heart. So it's much better now. Mana should be the same view. but I need 4 of them instead of just 2. But if I change this to like say 3, right, you're gonna see this will update quite instantaneously. Like this, and it gives me an extra mana unit after it's done. So that's great. And then of course the same deal here. I heal up and the excess mana fills in quite quickly. Oh, because I don't have max mana yet, right? So I can max up my mana before I can see this happening. So now I have some excess mana, it's gonna fill back. When I heal up, so I have 0.74 excess mana. If I just heal up, mana should fill back. There we go. Alright, so that'll be all for today because I've got to head off for a run now. I'll see. Probably won't be able to do another stream this week, but let's get back to this next week and let's get the mana stuff up. And the article should come soon after that, so looking forward to it. I think the UI is gonna take a little bit more than I. It's probably gonna take the entirety of the next stream to set up, but any progress is good progress, right? I wish I could move faster as well, but given my current schedule, it's a little bit of a challenge. So thanks for tuning into the stream, and thanks to all of you guys who always are coming in and expressing your support. It's what keeps me going. Right, so I'll see you all.